Hello everyone and welcome to the Couch Crickets.
Welcome to the couch.
Are we calling it the couch?
I think we can call it the couch. I think we are insinuating that our listeners are then by proxy crickets as well. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Some of them might be actual cricketers.
Yeah, unlike us. We would like to think of ourselves as cricketers, but to be honest, we're more sitting in the stands and having a laugh.
And trying to make up for our lack of talent with enthusiasm and passion.
Yeah, so my name's Chris, and with me in our little studio we've got Carl. Carl is an engineer by day, Shane Warne's greatest fan, and he likes to think of himself as a great leg spinner, but he's more like Stephen Smith before he learned to bat. And yeah, that's Carl for you.
Oh, Chris, thank you for that wonderful welcome. So my co-host Chris is a medical doctor by day. It has been said that he's got a good technique and a cover drive to make Virat Kohli jealous. But in actual fact, his biggest claim to fame is that he went to school with Carl Abbott.
Oh, no, I don't think Carl actually remembers me at all, but I'll claim it.
Doesn't matter, bro. The school records say you were in the same school. It's a claim to fame.
Yeah, so we got together and had a discussion about starting a podcast just because we both guys whose passion for cricket sort of outweighs our talent. If we could be playing cricket, we'd probably be doing that. But we both got jobs and things, and we like the discussion around cricket and the debate and sort of arguing around who's the best players and what are the best teams and what should the selections be. And we just thought that it might be something that some people would be interested in. We do a lot of reading about cricket, and I don't want to say we are experts, but we're definitely nerds. And some of that might prove interesting to some people.
I must be honest, super disappointed not to be a professional cricketer. But we deal with the setbacks we get dealt in life. There's still time, maybe a little county stint in my late 30s.
Mike Hussey is going to be my role model.
Anyway, so I think the main goal of this show is basically to share our passion for cricket. And I think, we do spend a lot of time researching and watching cricket. And I think cricket is a very sort of statistically dense sport.
Statistically dense. Nice.
And, for people who might not be that into it, it might all seem a bit overwhelming. But, maybe if you listen to us once or twice a week, you could listen to our breakdown.
Yeah, and I think lots of people, what boils my blood is when people say cricket is boring. But I think a lot of what people find boring is that they're not in the know. They don't know the stats or the background or so on. It's a lot more interesting when you are in the know and know the background and the stats and cricket's its own little soapy. If you're interested in the players' lives and you're interested in the stats, it becomes a lot more interesting.
At the end of the day, there really is no better drama than actual international sport. Anyway, so that's basically the goal of the show, and the Cricket World Cup is providing us the ideal opportunity to start the show, giving us loads of content within a relatively dense period. For those of you that don't know, the Cricket World Cup starts on the 30th of May this year. Mostly for the first couple of weeks, we'll be mainly covering discussions surrounding the tournament and everything that's happening in England, where it's hosted currently.
Yeah, it's just an opportunity to kick the podcast off with something really exciting. Obviously, for us, cricket's always exciting. But with the World Cup, hopefully we can get a few listeners who are not usually into cricket. I know, for instance, football. I only watch football basically around the World Cup time. So we're hoping that we can catch some cricket fans,
some closet cricket
fans and make them sort of year-round cricket fans. The World Cup's just a really exciting time for cricket. It's a good showpiece for the sport.
So we're going to start off by focusing on the World Cup coming up, being hosted in England, starting on the 30th of May until the 14th of July, if I'm not mistaken, Chris.
Okay, so 6 weeks of tournament.
Yeah.
And 10 teams this year.
Yeah, bit of a format change. This year we're going with, as you stated, 10 teams playing a round robin. So every team plays every team once, and then we head on to semi-finals and final.
Okay, and that's a new change, right?
Yeah, new change. Previous tournament had a format of 14 teams, 2 groups of 7, and then the top 4 of each group progresses to the quarterfinals, and then you sort of have a bit of a cross-pool knockout going on there. Okay. So, I like the new format.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a previous year that they did a similar format.
Yes, I think it was 92. Although, if my memory serves me correctly, I think they had 9 teams there, not 10.
Okay.
But essentially, it'll work out the same.
Okay. And let's quickly talk about the 10 teams. Can you name them? No pressure.
I can try. Obviously, the host nation, England.
Great.
Then we've got the next 7 teams qualified via the ICC ODI Championship, which is basically the ODI World Ranking list, which gets continuously updated.
Okay, great.
And these teams are Australia, Bangladesh, India, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, and Sri Lanka. And then the last 2 teams obtained their spots via the 2018 World Cup qualifier, which was played in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
And these 2 teams are West Indies and Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, now they're quite new to international cricket.
Quite new, but I mean, if you look at how they've been producing players on the T20 scene, it was only a matter of time before their ODI squad would become of high enough quality to qualify for the Cricket World Cup as well.
Okay. So the format, if we look at the last World Cup, it's a bit different this year to the last World Cup. There's less teams, and there were groups in the last tournament. So I think what the ICC is trying to do, I mean, they have had to decide what's the point of the World Cup. Is the point to sort of promote cricket in these minnow countries, or is the point to find the best team in the world? And I think they've settled on finding the best team in the world, and I think this is probably the better format for that. Just because in those previous years where we had those group stages and then the Super 8, we had some big teams losing to some of the minnows in a one-off sort of freak show loss, and it really affects their campaign. Go back to 2007 when India got knocked out because they lost to Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And Pakistan also failed to make the Super 8 because they lost to Ireland. They lost to Ireland, and I think they lost to the West Indies. So,
I mean, at the end of the day, you want a situation where the best teams progress to the knockouts. I mean, I'm all for promoting cricket in these minnow countries. We want cricket to be an international game, but honing your skills and testing your skills against the best in the world on a big stage is essentially what the Cricket World Cup is about, and I think that's what we want.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about the new format is, like you say, it'll be playing strength. We've seen lots of one-sided games in World Cups previously, especially in the group stages where you've got, say now, Australia playing against Kenya or something like that, and then you've got a really one-sided game. So at least in this format, the game shouldn't be too one-sided, and like you say, we should hopefully end up with the best team in the world.
Okay, so just a little bit of general background surrounding the Cricket World Cup. This is the 12th edition. Played in England.
Every 4 years?
Every 4 years, except for 96 to 99. They didn't. Supposed to play one in 2000. They didn't.
Were they scared of the Y2K thing?
The Millennium Bug.
I don't know.
Okay, but anyway, we'll have to see. But anyway, started off in 1975. Back then it was a 60 over per side game. Played with a red ball and white clothes.
Okay.
Almost unimaginable to think one-day cricket and T20 cricket is played with white clothes, but those were the days. So if we just take a little look at traditionally which sides are successful, Australia by far the most dominant force in World Cups. They won it in 87, then they had the famous treble in 99, 03 and 07, and then they got another victory in 2015. Surprised the heck out of all of us.
Yeah, I think they, don't know if they were the favourites going into that one. Probably not.
But I mean, they had Michael Clarke, they had Stephen Smith, etc. We'll get into their team a bit later on. If you look at other successful teams, West Indies have won 2 titles.
Those were back in the day.
Back in the day, 75 and 79. India with 2 titles, 83 and 2011. 2011, of course, played in India, so that'll have helped them a lot.
Yeah, under MS Dhoni.
The mighty reign of Captain Cool.
Yep.
And then Pakistan, 1992. Okay. Impressive stuff. Sri Lanka, 96.
Yep.
Sanath Jayasuriya, Aravinda de Silva, and
Murali.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, the 2 obvious glaring omissions, South Africa and England. The Proteas never made a final. Yeah. Major disappointment in my life.
Yeah, we're not going to rehash all those sad
okay, so anyway, for now, never made a final.
Yeah.
England never won the tournament, but They last made the final in 92, so that's quite a while back.
Okay.
But, favourites this year, host nation, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, New Zealand also traditionally your giant slayers in these ICC tournaments. They won the final in 2015, so they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, better World Cup record than South Africa.
Yep. So heading into some specifics, if we take a look at what happened in the 2011 World Cup, hosted in India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. Chris, take us through it.
Yeah, so like you said, hosted in the subcontinental nations. It was actually meant to be co-hosted by Pakistan as well. The ICC actually took their sort of hosting bid away following a bombing in Pakistan, so safety reasons, which was unfortunate. But it still played into sort of home ground advantage, played into their hands. We saw Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka and New Zealand in the semis. So only one country not from the subcontinent.
Yeah, New Zealand, of course, living up to their giant slayer tag by once again knocking out South Africa in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately for them, being knocked out by Sri Lanka. So we saw India and Sri Lanka in the finals, which was an epic final, I think. Mahela Jayawardene hit 103. So, I mean, anyone who hits 100 in a World Cup final can handle the pressure. And then Mr. Cool himself, MS Dhoni, the chaser, having a huge role to play, chasing down that total, which, if I'm not mistaken, was 274. Dhoni scored 91 off 79 and was man of the match. So, yeah.
And another not out innings from Dhoni. I mean, over the years we've come sort of accustomed to that. Finishing the game, not just making a big score. Yeah, so he finished it off there, and that was 2011, India winning in India. So now on to the most recent version of the World Cup, 2015, hosted in Australia, New Zealand. Carl, tell us more about that. I think the biggest upset of that tournament was the fact that England got knocked out before the quarterfinals.
And I think, didn't that start their sort of resurgence there? They talked about playing a new brand of cricket. They were very conservative in their approach to sort of play old school ODI cricket, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so. And I think maybe that just brought them down to earth a bit and sort of fueled their drive for the number one ODI team, which they've been in the past year or so, just to fuel that mission. Anyway, moving on to what happened in the 2015 World Cup. So we ended up with a semi-final between South Africa and New Zealand. New Zealand once again prevailing. And then Australia versus India, and then another one where Australia prevailed. So, I mean, we ended up with a New Zealand versus Australia final. And, Chris, how's that for, once again, a bit of a home ground advantage?
Home ground advantage. I must say, India doing well. It's not conditions that favour them, really. Conditions that are suitable for fast bowlers. Their batters aren't used to it, and they usually just generally don't have the bowlers to take advantage of it. So I think they did pretty well to make the semis. They're always going to be in with a shout. They've generally got a strong team. But, they're the only subcontinental team to make the semis.
Anyway, ended up with, in the final, a pretty low-scoring game. The total New Zealand set was, I think, 183. And Australia chased that down relatively easily.
Yeah, the big-name players cashing in. I think David Warner made a 40-something. Stephen Smith and Michael Clark finished it off, if I'm not mistaken.
And, clinching Australia's 5th World Cup title. I mean, just once again proving that when it comes to World Cups, they are the force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and I think their bowling attack had a lot to do with their success that year. They had the duo of Mitchell Starc and Mitchell Johnson, who I think took wickets in the final. So, Mitchell Johnson no longer with us. He's not dead, he's just retired.
And hopefully his handlebars retired with him.
Yeah. Mitchell Starc should be back for more this year. Yeah, so the most recent major tournament was the ICC Champions Trophy. It was played in 2017 in England, so it was a really good test run for the World Cup played this year. The Champions Trophy is scheduled like that. It's every 4 years in between the World Cups, so that you have a tournament every 2 years effectively. Yeah, played in England, expecting the teams that are used to those sorts of conditions to do well, but we had a bit of a change of pace.
Ending up with the India-Pakistan final, with a sublime performance from Pakistan in the final. I mean, they set a massive score of 338 for 4 in their 50 overs. I mean, runs on the board is definitely a thing, but runs on the board in a final is even a bigger deal.
Yeah.
I mean, an absolute quality knock from Fakhar Zaman. I mean, he scored a big 100 there. And then a quality bowling performance from Mohammad Amir as well, with his 3 for 16.
Yeah, I mean, Pakistan have got the bowlers. They, of all the subcontinental team, they've always had usually the richest in terms of fast bowling. It just depends on sort of what version of their fast bowlers turn up on the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we said, the subcontinental teams doing surprisingly well. The semis, England in the semi-finals, but then Pakistan, Bangladesh and India, the other teams in the semis. Unfortunately, South Africa again not doing so well. Australia, really unlucky. 2 no results due to rain and a rain-affected game against England, meaning that they were knocked out.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at as you said, the 3 subcontinent teams in the semi-final, once again supports the argument that pace bowling among the subcontinent nations have started to catch up. We can speculate for hours why, but it definitely has started to catch up. And we'll see whether it plays such a big role in the upcoming World Cup, which is obviously also hosted in England and where the ball tends to swing a bit.
Yeah, and I think the bowlers have improved and their batsmen are much more comfortable against short pitch bowling. I think previously, back of the length fast bowling, you would do it for a lot of Indian batsmen, whereas these days they're so comfortable, even when the ball is moving around, they seem to be more complete batsmen that they're producing from India.
So let's just have a quick look at the current ODI rankings. And at the top we've got England sitting pretty. We've got India, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia in 5th place, Pakistan, Bangladesh, West Indies, Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. Now, I mean, those are the 10 teams that are competing at the World Cup, so probably an illustration that the qualifying process is working well. What do you think about those rankings, Chris?
I think the obvious one, Australia in 5th. We're not used to seeing them that low down. It is probably reflective of how they've been going in recent times, but everyone knows they've got Stephen Smith and David Warner back in the team, 2 of the best batsmen in the world. So their batting lineup suddenly looks a lot better, and they're probably now with that team worth a few places higher. So we'll see if they can climb the rankings and do better than that predicts for them. England at the top, for my money, full worth for their number 1 ranking. They've been chasing down huge totals and doing really good things. India, we're used to seeing them up there. They've got, the best batsman in the world in Virat Kohli. It's easy to say at this point. Honestly, I'm surprised South Africa are that high up. My feeling is that we haven't been going as well as that. But actually, if you look at the results we've been scraping through, I hope that we can improve on that even. And then another one that you sort of expect, but, Pakistan, we just said they won the Champions Trophy in 2017, but ranked 6th. I think, like you say, it just shows how volatile they can be. Some days they're the best in the world, and then others they're mediocre.
Not. Yeah, I mean, they really are a danger in this tournament, especially if the seam bowlers find some form in the friendly conditions. If you just take a look at the rankings, South Africa, New Zealand and Australia, who are 3rd, 4th and 5th, are really quite close actually, and then quite a big gap up to India and England. But yeah, as you said, England fully deserving of that number 1 spot. I mean, knocking India off their perch with the type of quality side that India has is quite an achievement, and I'm looking forward to see how they perform in this World Cup under pressure.
So let's just talk a bit about England, not the team as such, but the host nation. So we have 11 venues with 48 games being played, including the semis and the finals.
Yeah, and then the semi-finals moving on and being played at big iconic venues, Edgbaston and Old Trafford. And then, I mean, can it get any more poetic than a final at Lord's, the home of cricket?
Yeah, I mean, that's an epic stage. There's very few venues that can live up to that. Then one of the things that's going to play a role in the tournament, whether we like it or not, is the weather. With England having such temperamental weather, one way or another, it's going to affect the outcome. With if it rains a lot, we're going to see Duckworth-Lewis come into play. We're going to see the ball swinging around. We're going to see low totals in those games. If it's a hot, dry summer, as is predicted, we might see some of the pitches dry out, especially with multiple games being played at a few venues. We might see more spinners come into play.
Yeah, I think, if we say hot and dry, that's of course by English standards. Probably going to be something like 28 degrees. Anyway, I think if it tends to be hot and dry, the teams will start to play 2 spinners towards the end of the tournament. And that could be massive for subcontinent teams who generally bat better and bowl better on sort of slower, drier pitches, because that's more closer to their home conditions. I must be honest, as a South African fan, looking forward to maybe seeing some cloud cover. Hopefully no rain, but a bit of cloud cover just to see that iconic outswinger by my favourite bowler, Dale Steyn.
Yeah, and I think the rule that they've adopted for this World Cup and recent ODIs is that there's 2 balls used, one from each end. So there's not meant to be a ball change, which is nice because the team can work on the ball, hopefully generate some swing or some reverse swing, and it doesn't get changed at 30 overs, or hopefully the ball can last then for the whole innings. So we don't have a situation where the condition of the ball is dramatically changed. So that should be nice. With all the ball tampering accusations and things going on, it's going to be an interesting...
Yeah, I see there was just recently in the sort of the pre-World Cup one-day series between Pakistan and England, there was a little bit of an accusation thrown towards Liam Plunkett. But the ICC cleared him. So we'll see how that goes. But just to get back out, I definitely would prefer, playing with 1 ball throughout the whole 50 overs. But you got to make the best of the situation, and visibility does become a problem with the white ball. So, all in all, pretty happy with the use of 2 balls, lasting us the whole 50 overs. Okay, so I think that's basically it from us for this week's episode of the Couch Crickets.
Yeah.
Before we sign off, let's just head into some speculation. Chris, make a prediction. Who's going to take the World Cup?
Oh, the dark horse, New Zealand. Big call.
That's a big call, man. That's a big call. I'm of the opinion that they will once again put in a stellar performance, but I don't think they're going to cut it.
Okay.
For me, I'm going to back the Proteas.
Okay.
We'll get into that a bit more in the upcoming episodes, which by the way gets released every Wednesday.
Yeah, and you can find us on all major podcast platforms. We're on social media as well, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So give us a follow, give us a like.
Yeah. And if you've got any questions, topics you'd like us to discuss, or just all around a bit of banter.
Yeah, we're new to this. So if you liked something, if you didn't like something, if we're lame, let us know that we can fix it or try.
And thanks for joining us on the couch.
That's lame.
How's that?
It's going down late.